Right, listen, our own Emma can't join us today, but we're absolutely delighted, as we often are, to be joined by the Professor of Cyber Security at McGee, Ulster University. That's Professor Kevin Curran. Kevin, good afternoon to you.
Good afternoon, Mark.
Right, Kevin, I want you to deal with 3G firstly today, because guess what? Most of the time, I live on 3G because it's the best I can get with either is my rubbish phone, my rubbish network. I don't know what is rubbish, but there's going to be a switch off. Now, what's happening?
Yeah, I mean, the government in the UK and around the world are saving spectrum. So they're turning off the 2G and the 3G. But at the moment, just the 2G will be phased out in the next, in the next 10 years. But actually, they're starting next year, Ofcom, or actually starting now Vodafone, then Ofcom, or sorry, not Ofcom. 3 start next year and O2 as well.
Right, and it's about bandwidth, they're going to squeeze so much in. But what about those of us for whom the rurality or the lack of connectivity means that most of the time you're living off 3G? What happens to those punters, Kevin?
Yeah, well, it's more the phone. See, like obviously a 5G phone, which I have here, can go down to 4G and down to 3G and down to 2G. But sometimes you're on 3G, but it's just having the capability. You have to have the capability of 4G and 5G. Some phones literally only have 3G. And of course, they reckon about 9% of the population have a 3G phone only, so they're going to be in trouble again. But they will be able to send messages and text to some degree on the 2G network, but data won't work because there is no data on 2G. Gotcha. So it goes backwards. But generally the mobile provider will contact people because they'll know the handsets. Again, so generally, if your phone is turned, if you don't have Wi-Fi on, and if your phone says 4G LTE or 5G and the status bar, then there's a good chance it's the 3G will not work after the shut off.
Well, there you go. Okay, listen, Kevin, let's talk also today about TVs and fires. Look, a lot of people will put their TV above the fire instead of the mirror. Some TVs are that size, just big, massive, 50 and 50 plus inch tellies. Now, what are the findings here about putting a telly above the fireplace?
Yeah, one electronic magazines have come out there is basically saying you should not mount your TV above a fireplace. And basically heat, because heat's one of the biggest contributors to electronic failure. Again, if you get heat warnings on your iPhone, as you know, or whatever, in the summer, whatever else, but and also the smoke is not good either, coming from the fire beneath it into any objects, really, any screen. So people are saying, really don't put your TV above the fire, which is usually where they, if you buy a new house nowadays, generally that's where the socket in the wall is left anyway. But it depends. Maybe, a lot of people now have the electric fires, really, and sometimes they're only there for display, so the heat's not coming off them. But if you really have an old, log fire underneath it and all cracking heat, really the dust is going up. It really is. It's just so close. Like a mantelpiece will help to deflect some of the heat, of course, and the smoke, but generally it's not the best place to put maybe a £2,000 TV.
Well, yes. Kevin, findings. This one intrigues me. I mean, as I've often said, connectivity for me as a youth was 2p a piece and a red phone box on a Friday night, find out where the match was for the boys' brigade the next morning, and that was the height, really, of connectivity, unless you had pen and paper and, aerograms for friends overseas. That was it. More than new findings here, more than 7 in 10 adults admit they would struggle to manage their life without access to the internet, and reckon they could go just 5 hours and 11 minutes without using their phone. I would say, Kevin, knowing you as I do, you probably couldn't go 5 minutes.
Yeah, but also, if you think about it, being professional, you have to, like today, I'd left my phone and I'd missed a message, but just be professional, because people will contact you on phones as well, and that's why it's increasingly hard, even for people like me, to have time for deep study, because we are interrupted all the time. But we feel that we're doing business, of course. It's not as if I spend my whole day scrolling through Facebook, but you don't want to miss out on maybe on contacts and either from family or work or professional life. So it is becoming a key part of our life. And the research was commissioned by Tesco Mobile again, and they actually did a little short thing with Dom Jolly, the comedian, really, and he had to go for a day without his phone, and he found out that, of course, he couldn't find the location to his child's match and all these other things. Again, things that would become part of us. He couldn't use a mapping feature either. And there's a lot of things that we just become totally reliant on again, because you think, of course. But
Kevin, I was just going to make the point. I went over the holidays there to West Donegal, and the connectivity was okay, but I'd brought a Brian Friel play that I never knew existed, and read the thing completely, the actual book. And Kevin, I remember every detail, every scintilla. I spent my life in here with double screens, 7 platforms, like you, all this digital sort of luminous intake on my devices, screens and all the rest. Kevin, I don't know, and maybe I'm just being a wee bit nostalgic, there's something about deep learning, picking up a book and reading the words physically, palpably that I think is different.
There is some people who swear by it. Like my son, for instance, would. I mean, it frustrated me no end because I could have downloaded any book for him, and he would buy maths books, which are very expensive. I mean, believe me, some of the maths books he buys are £200 plus, And of course, I can get the PDF online and have it there. But no, he wants the physical, and he's a lot of books, and he's constantly, he uses them himself. But he really is one of those people who really believes in the physical, in the physical object.
Well, Kevin, as I say, always good to talk to you. Just want to have you, and for 30 seconds, Kevin, anything on the horizon digitally, cyber-wise, that maybe people need to know about now? Is anything that particularly catches your eye?
The big thing about this ChatGPT, which Microsoft had just put 10 billion into, really, and they've just dropped 10,000 jobs. So they know, but it's a computer replying to like another computer. This ChatGPT has passed the medical license examiner's test to be a doctor in the United States. It passed it with flying colours. It has passed the Harvard MBA because it is able to scrape obviously everything from the web before 2021. And of course, Google are now very worried because they're 150 billion pound a year search engine market. It could be under threat by Microsoft if they use this in their Bing search engine.
Wow. Kevin, big one on which 10 today. Thank you for that. Professor Kevin Curran there from the Ulster University, nodding towards the end of our programme.